one of our lady mayoral candidates has arrived a little early. Do you want to go on?
That's not American. I'm going to be on time and early.
Sure, early. Something that's on time and early, right?
I got the warm up act.
Yeah. What was the warm up act? The warm up act. Indeed.
You're ready for me? I'm ready for you.
Well, you know what? Wait. Sorry, folks. A little nepotism here. Good morning, everyone. You all doing well? I'm not the first. I'm the first mayoral candidate. Oh, second. I was going to say the first is always the best, right? No. And if I was last, I'd say save the last for best. Or save the best for last. See, I've had an early morning already. So, well, good morning. And I'm happy to be here. And I'm happy to be standing here as a mayoral candidate for the city of Los Angeles. Because I'm going to be a mayor for all of LA, so that no part of LA is left behind. Because I don't care where you go in the city of Los Angeles, people feel as though they've been left behind. And when I talk about being a mayor of LA, and mayor of all of LA, I want to tell you what that means. It means if you're a senior citizen and you call 911, you will get the same response no matter where you live in LA. If you're a family that has children and wants to go to a clean and safe park, you're going to be able to go to one and not have to drive 10 miles. It means if you're a small business, a big business, you're going to still get the same kind of services in Los Angeles. But it also means having someone who's going to focus in on the important issues to all of you. I often say that I don't just want to be the mayor, I want to do the job of mayor. And the job of mayor isn't always sexy and slick. The job of mayor is rolling up your sleeves and making sure that the city government works. But I believe as I'm standing here today in front of a Democratic club, it is important to elect a Democratic mayor. It's important to elect someone who gets the values that each of us stand for. And I'm proud that my career started off working for Mayor Tom Bradley. That's when you're supposed to say you're not that old. Okay. I started off when I was 17 years old, student body president at John F. Kennedy High School, and I met Tom Bradley in the tower of City Hall. And as I said to someone the other day, I fell in love with Tom Bradley. And I said, in a good way, though. In a good way. Which was, I fell in love with public service. I fell in love with the democratic values he stood for, which was speaking out for those less fortunate. Speaking out on the issues of a woman's right to choose. Speaking out on LGBT issues. Speaking out on environmental issues and standing up. And speaking out on good family wage jobs and the importance of that and the diversity of our city and what makes it so great. And then my opportunity to go work for President Clinton and Henry Cisneros and Andrew Cuomo gave me another experience and opportunity to stand up for what's right across this country on homeless programs and also here in the city of Los Angeles on homeless programs and after the Northridge earthquake. But I decided, and I have 15 seconds to close on this, so I'm hoping at the end. Do I get to say something at the end? Okay. That it is important that we work together as Democrats to ensure that we have a city that is for everyone. That you have a mayor who gets it, and a mayor who's going to fight for our good democratic values. Okay, all right. So I know it's going to be a quick question. All right.
Yeah, lots of questions. What do you think are the top 3 issues facing the city of Los Angeles, and what would your approach be towards resolving these issues?
I would say 3.5, just so you know. Actually, there's 4 of them. We'll do. Number 1, because I think economy and jobs go together. It is about jobs in the city of Los Angeles. When you think about how we're going to get out of this economic slump, it means creating jobs. It means creating opportunities. It means keeping the entertainment industry here, that I had the pleasure of working at DreamWorks Movie Studios, and we know that it's not just about the jobs in front of the camera, but it's the jobs in back of the camera, and it's ancillary services. It is the dry cleaners and the restaurateurs and the makeup artists and the hairdressers and all of that. But it's also about creating opportunities that I call hubs of economic activity in various places. That means around our universities where we recruit young people to come here and we never recruit them to stay. And to be able to create jobs in technology and increasing Silicon Beach and manufacturing and designed in LA, creating the jobs of the future and training the jobs for the future. The second, because that's really quick, I have a minute left on these three things, is education. We cannot have a world-class economy without a world-class education system. I'm the only candidate who graduated from LAUSD, Knollwood Elementary, Frost Junior High, John F. Kennedy High School. My son goes to LAUSD. I'm a believer and know that schools can be great, but you have to be part of the solution. And I'm willing to do that. I don't accept that if you're in a different zip code in the city of LA, that your school is not the same as somewhere else. I don't accept that we don't have the resources necessary for our teachers and our principals to make sure that they have the opportunities that they need. The state of California owes us $900 million to the LA Unified School District, and we're 49th in the country in per pupil spending. That is critically important. And lastly, because it's going so quick, maybe I'll continue, is on the issue of transportation. A public transportation system that actually is seamless. Because right now it's not. Right now, it's not only the final mile, as they call it, because often you have that last mile you're trying to get somewhere, but we don't have it. You're over here west of the 405, and I'm so sorry for you. I'm so sorry for you. I mean, we love the west of the 405, but the traffic is outrageous. But there is hope. There is hope in the kinds of things that we have in transportation. And it's not just about public transportation because you don't want to be stuck in traffic. It's about our environment. It is about our environment and people not being in their cars and the importance of that. So I'll come back a little further because they've given me the stop. But it's jobs, it's education, it's transportation, and it's about getting our fiscal house in order, which hopefully there'll be a question on that I can talk about. I'm talking really fast. Hey.
Okay, do you want some water?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Unfortunately, Los Angeles is considered the homeless capital of the United States. What is your plan for combating homelessness?
Well, my first plan is we can end homelessness in Los Angeles. We can do that. But here's what you have to do to make it happen. And I'm the only candidate who has the experience to deal with this issue of homeless from a national and a local level. When I worked for President Clinton and Henry Cisneros, I was the Deputy Director of the Interagency Council on the Homeless. We looked at best practices and provided $75 million to a variety of initiative cities, and LA was one of them. I brought $20 million to this region to deal with homelessness. First and foremost, our veterans should never be homeless. Those who have fought and risked their lives for us should never be homeless. We need to look with a Veterans Administration that has empty buildings. And I fought very hard, I will tell you, for New Directions that is there now. When I worked for Tom Bradley, we were told, you know that vacant building that's sitting there? And we said, we'll pay for the rehabilitation of it, we'll pay for the operation of it. And they said, you can't have it, we don't want you there. Homeless services are important. And it's not, no longer is it about just the transitional. You know, it used to be shelter, transitional, permanent housing. It is now shelter and getting people off the street, but it's the permanent housing that has wraparound services that are so critically important. And I know from the days and working for Tom Bradley where I worked on the issue of homelessness, we could do that. There are some exciting things happening with United Way and the Chamber of Commerce. Who knew that they would, in addition to those of us that are activists, be willing to say we're going to step up to the plate and deal with the issue of homelessness. We need to be more competitive in the dollars on the federal level. And I've done that in my auditing as the city controller, looked at where we have not gotten all the money for other services, not necessarily homeless, but I know we can do better. It's about tax incentives and keeping those on the state level. It's about putting the resources necessary. When I worked for Mayor Bradley, we sued the County of Los Angeles because we said they were not doing enough on general relief. We took that unusual step because we said part of your policy decisions are implementing the fact that, are impacting the fact that we have homeless on the streets of Los Angeles. And we created this thing called the Joint Powers Authority, which is part of the settlement. And I have to say, although it's been good, I think what happened is people said, oh, they can take care of it. And so the council and the county board of supervisors, although Zev, I think, has taken a lead on dealing with the issue of homelessness, it's not on the front pages unless someone has died or it's too cold. Guess what? They're homeless every single day in our communities. I commit to you that we will work to end homelessness during my time in the mayor's office, and it won't be an afterthought. It will be a daily activity.
Where do they move? Where do these individuals go? Do you have any idea what the solution to that?
Well, I think if anyone comes and says to you, I have it, I can fix it tomorrow, they're not telling the truth. They're not telling the truth. Look, there are balance, and I've heard from both sides. And I know Councilmember Rosendahl and the next council member from this area, Mike Bonin, have tried to have all the stakeholders at the table to talk about how to deal with that. Because what happens sometimes is there's that one RV, that person, and I talked to someone who is a good liberal, and they said, we want to help the homeless, but my wife comes outside and they're defecating in front of our house. And that's not okay. And they have their RV there, or they're dumping there. So it really is about looking at the stakeholders and identifying where there are locations where potentially those could occur. You have to balance, and I think what I've demonstrated as a council member, as controller, and even when I worked for Tom Bradley, is about having everyone at the table to say, where are some of the locations that we can do that? But most importantly, let's stop dealing with some of the short term and deal with, let's get them out of those RVs into housing. Let's focus in on affordable housing in the city of Los Angeles. Let's focusing in on making sure there's a place for them to go. And that's what I will do as mayor.
What do you see as the mayor's role in assuring and strengthening or extending the delivery of community mental health services in LA?
Follows on, and I know this is a group that cares about those that don't have service. Look, it's very important. We don't fund mental health services, but guess what? The people who are on the street, most are mentally ill. When we talk about violence and you think about what we're tragically going through in our region with this LAPD officer who is targeting others, and you know, I talked to the chief this morning about it, or you think about, you know, Newtown, which could be our town. And I talked to some of the school board members and the president of the, and the superintendent when that all happened, and because my son's in 4th grade. I mean, you can't have watched some of these things and think about how could this happen in our neighborhood. And I like to say that, you know, it's easier to get a gun than it is mental health services. And so what we talked about was in our schools, and I think this is on homeless and all of that, which is seeing the signs. Training on the school side, training our parents, our teachers, our principal about seeing the signs of mental illness and being prepared. Because we don't need to arm our schools. I mean, the fact of suggesting that the teachers should come in with guns is just beyond my belief of that necessarily could happen. I want them to focus, number one, on teaching our kids, but two, that's a whole other story. But I think on mental health services, the mayor of the 2nd largest city in the country has an opportunity to use her voice on issues of importance. Her voice to say, we need to deal with the mental health crisis. We need to make sure that the county is, the state is, and those services are available to whether you are homeless, you're on the street, whatever it may be. And so I commit to you that that is on my list of things as well. Mental health services and the importance of funding those programs. Something that we did when we funded housing programs with HUD and others is that's a piece of the puzzle.
How would you use the mayor's office to convince federal and state authorities to undertake an alternative approach to the current bulldozing plan that I know you've been out there, which the Sierra Club Ionic Institute and others are opposed to, a plan which is much the same approach to restoration that the Army Corps of Engineers took at Sepulveda Water area, rather than implementing low-impact restoration. What would you do?
Well, and if I wasn't already doing the right thing, Marcia would probably take me out here and, you know, come after me. And Marcia and I have known each other for a long time. And she's been an advocate, and I enjoyed, we walked one day. I originally had my high heels on, and thank God someone had tennis shoes. We walked the area and showed me all the things that we need to be able